So before I get to the thick kit part, I'll talk a little bit about like what determines the size of this channel. This channel is the same width across the length of the channel, right? And it's the same width because it's held at the same width in 3 different places. It's held in the pivot area, in the Zen pin area, and in the spacer area, okay? Now, the standard channel size for a rep is 0.157 inches. Usually you do this in inches. I might go back and forth between inches and millimeters. But, you know, just to show you, so like here is a Zen pin, a random, you know, sort of clone Zen pin that I have from a different build. And if I put this in my micrometer, it will show that from between shoulder to shoulder, it's about 0.156 inches, right? Or 0.15. Let's see if I can get it. Like, these aren't perfect. These are thousandths of an inch that we're talking about. These are infinitesimally small. So like a thousandth of an inch is not going to make a big difference. But yeah, 0.1565 rounds up to 0.157. So that is between the shoulders, where the shoulders will sit inside the liners. And that space of the channel is determined by the Zen pin, right? Similarly, you know, at the pivot area, so here, right, the channel is being held at 0.157, roughly 0.157. Similarly, the channel area, the channel in the pivot area is also held in place by the bushing and the washers. So if we have one bushing, I'll just pick, I have a couple of sort of rep bushings lying around. It's about 1.25, right? 1.245, so it rounds up to 1.25 inches. And then if you have your 0.016 washers, so this is your regular 0.016 washer, right? 0.016, you add those all together, you get 0.157. So you get 0.157 in the pivot area as well as the Zen pin area. And finally, it's held together down here with the spacer at around 0.157. I say around because usually they make the spacers a tiny bit thicker just because that's where this blade is most likely to hit against the channel. So they'll, you know, make the spacer a little bit thicker. Here's a stock spacer. It'll probably be a little bit more than 0.157. Yeah, 0.16, yeah, 0.162, something like that, 0.162, 0.16, yeah, 0.162. So it's a little bit, you know, about 5 thousandths of an inch larger than up here across the whole length of this handle. That's not going to make that big a difference. But what is going to make a big difference is if we thicken this whole channel across all of this by about 0.03 of a inch, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get a 0.188 Zen pin and stick that Zen pin in here. And then we're going to take our same bushing, our same 0.125 bushing. We don't want to get new bushings, right? If these bushings are well tuned relative to the blade width, we're going to keep that same bushing, but we're going to get new washers. So the new washers are going to be a 0.03 inch washer instead of 0.016. And when you add all of this together, you get around 0.188. It actually comes out to 0.185, but again, that's 3 thousandths of an inch. It's not a big change, right? Now, here's the fun part of this mod, right? If you have your Zen pins and you have your washers, that's really all you need. That's going to cost you about 12 bucks plus maybe $5 shipping. So that's $17. If you have a clone, you'll have to get the True Link. You'll have to get these little the pan head screws, the 256 pitch pan head screws to go with the Zen pins. I'll try to leave a link or I can't show you my phone because I'm recording this on my phone, but I'll try to leave a screenshot of you know, the materials that you'll have and show you that it comes out to about you know, $11 to $13, add $5 shipping, right? So all of this is very cheap. Now, how are you going to get that extra width in the spacers? Well, what you're actually going to do is you're going to take those washers, the old washers, you're going to keep them, right? And you're going to add those washers to your spacer. And so this is going to float the spacer in between two washers. So the washer is going to go in between the spacers and the liners. And that's going to add the necessary width you need to get to about 1.88. It'll be 1.89 if you use these exact numbers, but again, it's not all that exact down to the thousandth of an inch. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to show you how it all works. I just got all this stuff. This I had already, but I got my 0.03 washers and I got my 0.188 Zen pins, and I'm actually going to show you now how to do this whole modification. So without any further ado, I'm going to So I actually realized that I have stainless washers in here. That might mean that this bushing might be, usually you use stainless washers when your bushing is a little bit closer to the size of the blade. So we'll see if it still works with these phosphorus bronze washers. Hopefully it will. Okay, so I've taken everything apart. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is add these, add one of these Zen pins. Now again, for this one, I'll need these new button screw, the panhead screws, because this was a clone Zen pin. The old Zen pin was a clone Zen pin. I'm going to put this in here first. Okay, so I got the Zen pin in. Now I'm going to put the new 0.03 washers in. One other tip about your washers, so the washers, you're not going to be able to see this on camera, but the washers actually have, when you get new washers, oh man, I'll find that later. All right, so one other tip that you're not going to be able to see on camera is that when you get the washers, when you get new washers, one side of the washers is actually rounded and one side is flat. You might be able to see that this side is actually duller and this side is shinier. The shinier side is the round side. The dull side is the flat side. Round side goes against the bushing, against the blade and against the bushing. So we're gonna put the round side up in this case. Put our bushing in here. We're going to put our blade around the bushing. Then we're going to get another washer. And again, now this time we're going to put the round, shiny side face down against the blade. Okay. Okay, so now let's take those old stainless washers. In this case, they're stainless. And these, just so you know, these are still 0.016 stainless washers. Yeah, so 0.105, that's fine. 0.105 actually works better. So this is the magic part. We're gonna take the old, oh God. We're gonna take the old washers. We're gonna stick them right here. And it doesn't really matter if you stick them on the top hole or the bottom hole. By the way, Foxfire Factory, shout out to Foxfire Factory. He actually sells special washers that go across two holes. He sometimes sells them for pretty cheap. Sometimes he runs out of them because they're in kind of high demand. But this will work perfectly fine with just a single washer. So that's, you know, the way I'm going to do that for this, in this case, right? So I'm going to stick this washer in here. Now I'm going to put this handle, this spacer here. I'm going to put the other washer on top of it. So again, this is where we got the, you know, the two washers plus the spacer is equal roughly to the size of the Zen pin. I'll get this all put together. Oops, missing a. Ta-da. All right, so I'm gonna line this up. By the way, this will work with any spacer, except maybe it might not work with a full channel spacer. That's why I clipped the channel spacers down here to make it a half channel, because the channel spacers are usually held against the Zen pin by the Zen pin screws. But since there's the extra space, that won't really work. But this would work with stock spacers. This would work with, I mean, it would work with barrel spacers even, though you can actually just get the right size barrel spacer from TrueLink when you buy the sorry, I'm distracted. When you buy the Zen pins, you can also buy the same size barrel spacers from TrueLink. Okay, so now I need another one of those pan head screws. TrueLink pan head screws to go with the TrueLink Zen pins. Okay, so I'll pause here and I'll show you that I got one side of this thicker. So you can already see there's a little bit of tap, but it actually sounds like that tap is actually coming from that side. On this side, there's no tap, okay? And I'll show you at the end that part of the cool thing about doing these floating spacer mods is you actually get a cooler sound out of the floating spacers than you do out of spacers, because they ring more when they're being held in place by washers and suspended sort of in air. They have more ring to them. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the other side, and then we'll come back. All right, so I have finished doing this this thick kit mod. There is no more tap whatsoever. However, I am dealing with a little bit of binding in the bite handle. So and when you have really new washers and stuff like that, that could all just be like breaking in, so to speak. So I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm not gonna fiddle with the bushings or anything. I already know from earlier that the bushings were perfect. So like, basically what I'm assuming is just that, you know, there's a little bit of friction with the washer. Maybe the washer didn't have a perfect, you know, didn't have a perfect, what do you call it, like a finish. So usually what I do if I'm getting some of that, still pretty bouncy, honestly. But usually what I do if I have a little bit of that, like, yeah, so there's a little bit of binding, it's like kind of sticking like that. What I'll do is I'll loosen the pivot. So this one on the safe handle is perfect. The bite handle, I'm gonna loosen this pivot a bit and just sort of play around with it. With the pivots really loosened, so now that there's free swing, you know, I'll play with it like this for a while, and then I will probably continue this video in the morning and crank everything down once I've played with it for a while and show you how everything sounds.